wherever you guys are joining in. Welcome to yet another webinar with Zencoder. I am Shantanu, a part of the development team. I have Pablo yet again. And Pablo, would you love to throw more light about today's topic and walk through audience?
Cool. It's great to be here again, Santanu. Always a fun time here with you. Today the topic is SDD and prototyping, no? So it connects a lot with what we were doing the other day, because if you remember the other day we were using the Figma MCP to take some designs that were actually a prototype. We were taking those designs and generating code with it, as could happen, for example, to share some code that we generated with our team to show something to our team, to show a demonstration of something that we want to communicate, of an idea. But we already commented last time that more and more what we're seeing people do is directly start doing prototypes whenever they have an idea. Instead of designing something, we're seeing people more and more just directly code the thing with a prototype. So today we're going to be touching on that point, on how are people doing this, what are some best practices that we have found, and then naturally, as part of that conversation, it will come up the topic of SDD, spec-driven development, because it's just it's not specific to prototyping. It's in general a particularly good way of working with AI coding agents, and so it will come up in the conversation.
Awesome. Sounds good. I think, as you just mentioned, right, SDD is a new boy in town, and a lot of people are talking about it. So, I mean, before we jump in, just a quick curious question from the audience and as well as from me as well. So, how do you, as as an engineer, as a product engineer, differentiate between SDD and the typical white coding that happens? What's the uh, one major differentiator?
I think good question. Let's start there. I would say the normal or the usual flow that we all started doing when we started working with AI coding agents is that we started asking things in very incremental little steps. So we already had in our mind the full idea, or a somewhat bigger idea of what we wanted to build. But instead of taking a lot of time to write that down, our normal tendency was to ask just one little thing from the agent, then see the agent do it, and then ask another thing from the agent, and then see the agent do it. And spec-driven development is basically the opposite. So basically, instead of going step by step, taking that time at the beginning to write down everything that you want to accomplish with a greater level of detail, and then sending that as the first instruction to the agent. And then we all found out that when you do that, the agent does a better job, understandably, because the agent now has like the full picture of where you're trying to go as a whole, not just the immediate next step, but where you're trying to go as a whole. And then therefore it's going to make the appropriate connections, thinking ahead of where you want to arrive at the very end. I think it would be the same like actually working with a person. If I work with you and I'm giving you instructions little by little, you're going to make some assumptions throughout the way that maybe don't align with the picture that I have in my mind. Whereas if I go and tell you from the beginning what are we going to build, and then I even give you the steps that we're going to be using, then that's when it works. And that's a difference to your question of what is the big difference between what we normally call vibe coding and spec-driven development is where do you put the instructions. In vibe coding, you put them along the way. In spec-driven development, you take some time to gather those instructions and put them at the very beginning.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I think that makes sense. Thank you so much for answering that question, Pablo. I think the stages are yours. Would love to have a walkthrough, and yeah, over to you.
So shall I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going for it. What I have here is just a little project that I have spun up. It's just a hello world site with a menu on the top. just so that we have something, because we're going to be talking. Remember, the topic of conversation today was like the prototypes, no? Like how do you, like, imagine that this was the project that we're working on, and imagine that you come up with an idea. So how would you do to, instead of designing it, how would you go about actually using code to convey that prototype? So let me actually flip it to you, and with what you're seeing on the screen, let me ask you what would you like to prototype, just so that we make it a bit more interesting instead of like me having prepared like some scene.
Okay, so I think we can even ask the audience, and I can even answer that question. But
Okay. If we have the audience, yeah, we can do that too.
okay, so I would love people to comment down on what you want Paolo to experiment with the prototyping. Okay, let me know. Let me know. Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments, or else I'll just let Pablo know something from on top of my mind. Okay, I don't see any questions or any people are shy enough to ask. So I am not. So I'll just go ahead and on top of my mind, I think I would love to see maybe a registration form, a login form, something of that sort. What do you think?
Okay, let's do it. So let me go into Zencoder, into the IDE. In this case, I'm using VS Code. And I have prepared for us in advance a list of what I typically like to have in these specs. So we obviously have our index HTML and style CSS. Those are the very simple files that power what we were seeing before. And here I have prepared also this spec.md file, in which we're going to be writing those instructions that are going to help us create that registration form. But let's keep in mind that it's a prototype, so we probably don't need the full functionality, but we want to see what it would look like. So let me start by saying that. Let me start by prototype, not all functionality needed for user registration. Just like an executive summary. So what is it that we want to accomplish? Then as a core insight, basically what is the like the key idea for the agent. So the key thing that I want to make sure that this prototype conveys. Let's think together. So I'm thinking out loud here. I'm thinking, because you said user registration. Let's make sure that we capture rich profile data. So like name, last name, email.
Right. Yeah, I mean the general information. Just a quick add-on, Pablo. If I don't know if that's doable, just throwing around what the user has put on the chat. So, is it possible to connect a database as well? I mean, it could also be like a local DB, maybe a CSV file. I mean, we can also treat that as a DB.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we can define. We have a section for proposed architecture, and for now, let's say, let's just use CSV for storing the data.
Interesting.
Current architecture, I'm just going to clarify to the agent that there is none, because the functionality that does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then implementation checklist. Let me show you something that I like doing, which is using the agent to actually help complete the spec. So I'm going to go into Zencoder, and I'm going to actually mention the file spec.md, and I'm going to say, help me complete a detailed implementation checklist.
I think you might want to, yeah, thanks.
So this was in front.
Yeah. We were
Sorry about that. So I can definitely close it. I didn't know that. So help me complete the detailed implementation checklist, and I'm just asking the code agent, and I have mentioned the spec.md. So basically what I'm doing like this is I'm basically having the agent help me complete the spec. Then I'm always going to review it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very useful tip for ideation.
Yeah.
You see, because it has created the backend implementation, data validation. One thing that I fear is happening to us, and it's a good thing because then it helps us caveat the audience, is we said that this was a prototype, and to me it's starting to look a bit like too much stuff. Like if we wanted to show something to the to our team, imagine that we have the idea of, hey guys, let's add a functionality of um, user registration. We might not want to have all these.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to ask the agent, take spec.md and simplify it further. We do not need much functionality, just whatever is needed to mock the functionality as a prototype and show to our team. Okay, this is basically when I notice that it's getting a bit out of hand and I already have that sense, I'm just going to try to trim it down.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Nice.
Okay, and then there's one last section in the spec. By the way, those sections that I was referring to in the spec, they are not mandatory. Like it's not like you absolutely must use these ones, but it's ones that we have found to work well. I'm going to also ask the agent to complete the feature completeness check
Mm-hmm.
section. Okay, so we have it. So now we have a spec. It's for a prototype for a user registration. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new chat, and then I'm going to mention the spec. And I'm going to ask from the coding agent, implement.
Awesome.
One thing that I have not done, and I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to explain why I have not done it, is because this is a relatively straightforward task and not too large of a task. I have not been using TDD, test-driven development. But typically in a spec-driven development type of workflow, what I would be doing is I would be embedding inside a journey for the agent in which always it needs to create some tests. Then those tests should fail in the first go. Then it should build the functionality, and then the test should pass. In this occasion, just because we're just going for a prototype and something a bit simpler, I sort of have skipped that part, but I wanted to call it out.
Got it.
So now I'm asking from the code agent to implement the spec.md.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just follow along. Let's see what backend it's asking for us, what backend we would want to have. I think Python would be just fine.
Interesting.
So now we're following along as the agent completes the work according to the spec.
So since it's okay, I think since it's still doing this, I have a quick question on this, Pablo. So I know there are multiple models out there in the market. We have Gemini, Gemini 3, Opus 4.5, Sonnet 4.5, called GPT 5.1, and there are multiple of them name of. So according to you, which is more tailored towards SDD, or is everyone all the models around the same lines?
Obviously, all these models catch up very fast. So the moment that SDD has become popular, I feel like they have all started being trained to be good at SDD. But in particular, the models from Anthropic, Sonnet 4.5 and the new Opus, have proven to be excellent at SDD.
Wow, nice.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've seen the same. I just wanted the experts' validation on this. So yeah.
Yeah, but obviously all of the others will catch up, and I believe they can be trained to follow along. So
Yeah.
the agent is continuing to work. I see that it has added some example names in the database,
Yeah.
and now
Okay.
it's
Interesting.
saying, let me just ask it directly, run the server.
So we have the backend now. I think we still might want to integrate it on the front end, right?
Let me see. It has been so fast that I don't know if it has already done it.
Okay.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you're right, and we didn't get anything in the front end. So that's probably, and that's a learning point there. Everything that we had in the spec didn't necessarily point at
Front end.
like the front end. So let me actually correct that by asking the agent. We're missing the front end for it.
Wow, that was fast.
That was fast, yeah. So
Oh.
now we have a user registration form. Obviously, we were not. It's not very fancy because we were not very detailed in our spec, but we still have it. We're getting an error here, no? Error loading users fail to fetch. Let me just check quite quickly if I can. I'm going to send the error to the agent and see if the agent can correct that one. Okay, here we have it.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted.
Nice.
So back to the original topic of the conversation, which is prototyping. Like, we wanted to put some new idea in front of our team. One way that we could have done that would have been by writing it up, writing like what is the idea about. Another way that we could have done it would have been by designing it. We could have used, like, I don't know, something more basic, like a drawing, or we could have done something a bit more polished, like Figma. But this is a new way of showing teammates new ideas and new proposals, which is directly creating a very simple first form of what you're trying to convey. And so it's very easy for whoever you're talking to understand, this person is proposing a user registration system. They're proposing it to work like this, and then the users would have like this and this data and so on. So it's a very high bandwidth type of communication.
Makes sense. I mean, I think that was super fast and super amazing to see SDD in action with Zencoder. So yeah, I mean, this is super fun. If you guys are following this up, feel free to build something out using the same ideology, same philosophy that Pablo just mentioned. I think it's super fast. I will try this out. But if you have any questions, anything that you want to ask Pablo or me, just drop them in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to pick it up. I don't see any questions popping up now. But do you want to throw any final light to this, Pablo?
Um, just the usual recap. Let's do the usual recap, which is the idea is now there is one more way of sharing ideas with teams. That is not writing, that is not drawing, that is not designing, that it's actually building it. And the exciting thing about it is that it can be done quite fast and quite effortlessly. Um, the traditional way, the past few months, or like let's say traditional 2025. I don't know if 2025 is traditional, but the way the original way in which we started working with AI agents was by communicating changes one by one. But now we're seeing that spec-driven development works better, which is when you front load everything that you want to build and you take that effort of putting that detail. And so when you mix the two, when you mix prototyping with agents and you mix the SDD, you basically what you have in your hands is a very useful tool to communicate ideas with your organization. Very powerful. Now you can actually show what you mean.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pablo, for throwing that light. I think we don't have any questions popping up here. But yeah, this is for the audience. If you have any questions, anything specific that you want to ask me, Pablo, and if you're shy enough to ask on this platform, reach us out on Discord, Slack, email. We'll be more than happy to assist. And we'll be more than happy to talk about anything SDD, anything prototyping, or anything Zencoder. So yeah, I think that sums it up. Before we close, any last final thoughts, Pablo?
Um, I think one parting thought is the test-driven development. I didn't do it, and I just want to make sure that the audience that was watching knows about it. Test-driven development means that as part of spec-driven development, you're asking the agent to write tests for everything that it's going to build. We have some more documentations. I bet we will be doing some more webinars on it, and it's a topic that we keep talking about. But I just wanted to double down that typically when you do SDD, you also want to be doing TDD together with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pablo, for joining in again. I think I enjoyed it. The audience also enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more of our conversations together down the line. But for the next week, we have something super interesting coming in. We can't reveal, but stay tuned for 16th of December. And do join in for the 17th December webinar. We'll have something super interesting, super exciting to showcase to the world what we have been building out. And that is coming out in public. So see you again in the next one, which is next week. Until then, any questions, anything that you guys want to ask, drop us in the chat, or maybe just reach us out on the community channels, and we'll be there to help you out. Having said that, once again, thank you so much for joining in, and thanks again, Pablo, for joining in and hosting this wonderful session on SDD. I'll see you again next week. Till then, take care and thanks.
Thank you.